one of the hardest questions that human beings, not talking about believers, but humans, we as people have is about the beginning of things, how everything begins, where do we come from, who created us, if there's such a thing as a creation, who created things, if there's such a thing as creation, who designed everything, is if there's such a thing as a designer. And the division is really wide because science try to explain the beginning of life, while Christians or believers or Jews, believers in the Bible, we believe that creation began as a creator put it all together. So let's go through the scriptures in this first book of the Bible that is called Genesis or Bereshit, and discover a little things that are in plain sight but hidden. And if you're looking for more information or looking for more revelation in the scriptures, this might help you. So thank you for being with us in our channel. My name is Pastor Gabriel, Senior Pastor of Casa de Israel Yara, which is our congregation. It's a Hispanic congregation, and today I wanted to start bringing you the message that we bring every Shabbat in our congregation for our English speaking people, that we have a lot of followers that are English speaking, and we need to talk to you too. We want to bring the message to you too. So today we're going to go through the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 and forward. We're going to try to convey in a message that looks like it's hidden to our eyes, but I believe that this message is more clear as the year passed and the science advanced, and we know about how the body functions and how these expressions in the scriptures are so related to us as part of the creation. And if as we've been developing those studies and scientific studies about our behavior and our the way that we are created, then we're going to start to understand why the creator of the universe, Elohim, talked to us this way. So let's see if I can bring some light through the scriptures. And the only thing that I want to do is just present this information, and you just validate this information and go through it and see if it's something that holds water or not. And it's all about what holds water. It's all about what can be conveyed or support, or what can be proven through many other ways. Okay, so let's see if this will work for you. Okay, well, at the same time, I want to say thank you for being in my channel right now. If you're not part of my channel or our channel, just please click subscribe and hit the like button, and also hit the notification bell so you can receive our teachings every week. Okay, let's go through the scriptures. Scripture say, in the beginning, you see that word, in the beginning God created heavens and earth. You see how it's pretty clear that the beginning looks like a time being of creation, like if it's in a timeline. So if you see the scriptures as a timeline, then you can convey that in the beginning is just the beginning of things as a time begins. But if you analyze in the context of the first two chapters, there's no time in that, because when God, or when the Creator put things together, He put it together in the spiritual realm, and in the spiritual there's no time, there's no space, it's eternal. So how can we discover if this was part of a timeline, or if this was part of something that's untangible, of a place that is not actually a place, but as no space, no time in where he thought about these things. So let's analyze the verse, or let's analyze the context in the Hebrew in the Hebrew Bible. Let's see. Let me go there. I'm going to show you right here that we have in Hebrew, Bereshit bara Elohim et Hashemayim va'et haaretz. So the word that we want to analyze is this word that is called Bereshit. That is going to bring us into something even deeper. I'm going to try to do that, to something deeper that can give us some light in regards of what we want to convey. The word is Bereshit. If we understand that word, Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, and Tav, this word give us a pretty much expansion of the thought of beginning. If that thought of beginning is a space, or is a time, or is a way of expression, a way of thinking, it's a space that have no space and time. I have to use the word space because it's the only way that we can understand it. So let's see how can we do this. The word is Bereshit. The first letter is B, Beit. The word or the letter B at the beginning of any word means that it's inside of something. It's in, but the in is not about a time, but it's about a space. In Reshit. Reshit means Reshit. The word Reshit means starting or beginning or top, the top. So why does it mean the top? If you go to the next letter after the B, after Beit, is Resh. Resh is represented by a head. In the very old pictographic Paleo Hebrew, you will see that word as represented as a head. But it's not only a head; it's a head that have a small division in it, which is kind of like a kippah, something like the word is represented by a head that has kind of like a kippah, but it's not a kippah. It's actually part of the head. It's just have a line that divided the head. So when you see that pictographic, then you will you probably will convey with me that it's inside the head. So Bereshit means inside the head instead of the beginning in a timeline. So if we can take that as a valid explanation of the word Bereshit, which I know and understand there's so many levels that we can understand this in an allegoric or maybe in the literal and some other ways. So but in a formal functioning way of thinking or way of seeing things, this is more functional. It's about what does it do and how does it do it. Then you can convey that it's inside the head that everything begins. Mostly because these years or this era that we live in with science has explained us that everything started with a thought, and this is not something new. Of course, we all know from years and millennials that everything started in your mind, and you think about things before you do it. And that's one of the differences that we have as humans from the animals. An animal doesn't have to think about he's hungry. He knows he's hungry. He doesn't have to think. But we can stop that thinking. Yes, I'm hungry, but I'm in a diet, so I stop and not eating because I think. The animal doesn't think. So I know I have to go eat, but I'm on a diet, so I have to restrain myself because my thought shows me that I'll be better with less pounds on my body, or I will feel better because my body it needs some fasting, or my body have to restrain from eating certain food like sugar and salt and gluten and bread and white bread and all that stuff. So it's because I can analyze things inside of my mind. And another example that we can use is that when you plan to do something, animals don't plan how to retire or where to retire. They don't plan about their house that they're going to build. I would like to have a house, a 2-story house or a 1-story house near the beach in front of a lake or something like that. Animals just build some shelter that can protect them as an instinct. It's a basic instinct on them. But when you want to build something, you always think about that and create it inside your mind before you manifest it. So the word Bereshit means that Bereshit in his mind, Elohim, in his mind, Elohim bara. The next word is bara, and bara, what it means is to create, right? But it's not only the matter a matter of puff and something comes up. He just divide things. That's how creation started, by dividing things. He separated the light from the darkness, and so on and so forth. So in other words, the word bara mostly means to divide or to split or to give each thing of creation its function. Each thing in creation have a function, and that function is important to understand it, so you can stay in your place and not violate or not jump onto the other side, because you will create more chaos. So if you don't want to create chaos, then you have to stay in your place. So God, Elohim, divided things and give them a function. Now, it's interesting that you can see that the first thing that he created it was in the Shemaim. It says in heavens, or in the sky, or in heavens. Actually, the word Shemaim is sky or heaven. And the second part of the verse says Ve'et haaretz. Va'et means to fix the next thing that I'm going to show you. To fix the earth. To make possible things by setting in the earth. So in Shemaim, et Shemaim, Bereshit, in the mind of God, he divided things in heaven and fixed them on the earth. So the earth is the manifestation of things. Shemaim is the thinking or the expression of things. On heavens, everything lasts forever, is everlasting. Heavens is eternal, but the earth is not eternal. He gave functions to all the elements of the earth, so they can cycle and preserve each element by cycling everything. That's why you see that we have hurricanes, every year. That's why there's wildfires in other places. That's why we have floods. That's why the earth moves, because it moves to preserve its being, its creation. It needs that, because the earth is a manifestation, formally, a form of the thought. In your mind, everything is forever. You can keep a thought in your mind. If it never manifested, you can die and that thing never manifested, but it was created in your mind. The difference is that God created in his mind and then manifested first through the word, and that give me the space to go to the next verse. And I want you to check on the next verse. Right now I have this verse, which is in the Lexham Hebrew Bible, but I want to go to the English Bible so we all can understand now. It says right here, continue to say, the earth was unformed and void, right? And then it says, darkness was on the face of the deep. And then, this is very interesting, because then after he told us that there was chaos and void and darkness and death, the deep, the face of the deep is actually death. It's nothing. No form, no life, no light, and death. Death. The deep is the void, is death. The deep, it's a non-space. It's nothing. When you fall into a deep, you go into nothing. There's nothing down there. Unless there's something down there, then there's not a deep. It's just a big hole, and the earth is down there. But this was a deep which has nothing. Now, Since it doesn't have anything, then the God's idea, Elohim idea in his mind, everything that he created it, he wants to manifest it and give him form in the physical realm. The physical realm is whatever is tangible. You can see it, you can hear it, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can touch it. It's something that your senses as a human being, as a part of the creation, they can actually sense. They can touch it, they can perceive it, because you can see it. It didn't come from your mind. It comes from another person, or in this case from the Creator's mind, and from his mind he gave it to us so we can perceive it, so we can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. So the physical realm, it's only a manifestation of the thought. Now, what he have in mind, what God has in his mind, this idea of the creation is flying over, is hovering over the chaos, is hovering over the deep, which is nothing, is hovering over the void, which is nothing, and is hovering over the darkness, which means no life. It doesn't mean death, it means no life. And that's a total different explanation about death and darkness and no life. But in this case, is darkness. Is the first thing that he said: unformed, void, and darkness. And his idea is hovering over it. Why his idea is hovering over this is because his idea carries the plan, carries the design. His idea has all the patterns of division, or actually not division but separation. It carries all the plans of how things are going to function in the physical realm. So that's why the spirit is waiting for the order, waiting for the expression of the word, waiting for what God is gonna say. I need this first, and then he's hovering over it and waiting for God to say the first words that came out of my mind, of his mouth, which was light. Right? Let there be light. So the first thing that comes out of his mouth is light, which means life. And this is the highest expression of the Creator. The highest expression of the Creator is life. And I'm not talking about a human being or a animal or a tree or of the matters or the matter, for that, for that matter. It's not about that. It's what portray as a living material, a living matter. And that's the first thing that he create, because everything needs life. Whenever something loses the life, then start to decay and go back to dust and no more. But as long as something have life in it, it's alive and it can portray what his or its function is. So function requires life. Things requires function. So in order for you to have a thing with a function, that thing needs to have life. So human beings need life, plants need life, and that it's portrayed in the scripture as light. And as science, the science community have conveyed that there is, in every cell, in every human cell, there's life, and it's light. It's kind of like a battery pack that it's inside that thing, and that battery pack is in there, and it's giving that cell, actually cell is giving that cells the power, the energy to remain active and alive. Now a cell is only a one cell is life in and itself, but it's not a form. It's not the whole idea. The cell does not contain the whole idea. It contains the need, the materials needed to create forms which will give them function. Okay, so when God creates something, the first thing that he said is light. He means in this case, and this is my proposal to you, and I have other verses that can probably prove it, as in the book of John chapter 1, it says, in Yeshua, in the word was the light, and the light was the life of man. So that life, it's contained in that light. So that's the first thing that he created, and he manifested, he created in his mind, but then he said it when he expressed life. That's the highest level of manifestation or of expression of the creator. Doesn't have any form or shape, is not void, it does exist. It's the unformed, but it's not void and it's not darkness. It contains what is necessary to make a separation, to not a division. Okay, division is totally different. Separation from the darkness, which is death, to the light, which is life. So that separation then now creates a pattern. So the rest of the idea, as the spirit is moving, the rest of the idea becomes something, becomes not unformed, void, or darkness, but now it becomes from the unformed, from the chaos, into the order. Order means life. Order means a solid ground, something you can stand on, something that you can trust, because it's organized, it's ordered. The other side is unformed, darkness, death. All right, now that being said, let's continue reading so you can see what else he started to create. Look at this. He said, let there be light, and there was light, right? God saw the light was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. We talked about that already. Then God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there was an evening and there was a morning one day. This is interesting because although there's no division of time, now we're seeing how each one of the elements of creation have a cycle and needs to be separated, not divided, separated. Okay, so that cycle, that first cycle, he called it day. We call it day because we understand darkest. We understand day and night because we have the cycles coming. We see the sun rising and the sun going down, and we see the difference between the light when we are alive and we can go out and do stuff, and then we see the sun goes down, that when we go home and we have a nice dinner and spend time with our children and then go to sleep. We don't do anything else. So unless you work at night, which is our body is not made for that. We are not made for that. We're made to, our bodies is made that when the sun goes down, our eyes dim and then we fall asleep. And then when sun goes up, then you see how the sun goes up slowly. So our eyes start to perceive the light of the sun, and that's how we start to wake up until it's midday, and in midday we are completely awake. Most of the people, right? So it's a cycle. It's how we understand it. But remember, there was no sun, not yet. There's not moon. There's nothing in it. There's nothing with the form and function yet. So this becomes a cycle of separation. The first cycle of separation was from darkness to life, from darkness to light, from death to life, from darkness to light. That's a first cycle. But then when the Elohim, our creator, saw the division, and he saw, not the division, the separation, when he saw the separation between death and life, then he saw that the life or the light is good, and he said, yeah, life is better than darkness. Life is better than death. So he separated this, and he said, this is good, so I'm done with that. That's the first cycle. All right, that's the first cycle. Then he go to the next cycle. Now he have to create a space, a sacred space. That sacred space is what he's going to do next. So how did he do the next cycle? The next cycle is when he divided the space. Now he's more tangible space, which in his mind was already done. He's just fixing things on earth, and his idea is floating. His spirit, his idea is floating. The idea contains everything, how everything is going to function, how everything is going to be portrayed, how everything is going to take its place, so everything goes accordingly, on shalom, on harmony, like a concert. Everybody is going to do his part, and maybe you're just playing the little triangle, and you always wait for your time, and you see the guy with the triangle waiting for the whole orchestra playing all instruments, and everything sounds really nice, and then all of a sudden he just bing. It's a function. It's something that makes it special. It gives him a taste of color. That little thing, it's a taste. It's a sound that you can taste and you can see in color. It's weird, but yeah, the artist that created that piece make you see things through music. That's interesting. So he started the second cycle and created that space, which is the waters above, the waters below, and then in the water below he divided also, and he wanted ground, like dirt from water, because there's many things that are coming from his mind that cannot survive only in water, or only in the sky, or in space, or only in earth. So it needs to combine those elements. So he continued to say, let me put the Bible here so you can read it. Let there be a dome in the middle of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the water. God made a dome and divided the waters under the dome from the water above the dome. That is how it was. And God called it the dome sky. So there was evening and there was morning and the second day. So there he is. In the second cycle, he divided these. And then he said, let the water under the sky be gathered together onto one place, and let the dry land appear. And that is how it was. God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the water called seas, and God saw that it was good. And then he said, let the earth put forth grass, seed, producing plants and fruits and trees, and yielding on its own kind, and seed of bearing fruit on the earth. And that is how it was. And the earth was brought forth grass, plants, each yielding its own kind of seed, and trees, and producing its own kind of seed, bearing fruits. And God saw that it was good. So there was an evening, and there was a morning, and in the third cycle. So it was the third day, and the third day contains that sacred space that God wants us to enjoy as humans. So we see here that God is creating a space. That's why in the beginning it doesn't have a timeline, because it's not created in a timeline or either in a space. Beginning, Bereshit, is not a space. In the physical realm, it's a space. In the spiritual realm, which means it's a thought. It's something that it's in the mind. We can portray it that way. Pastor, are you saying that God has a brain and he thinks? I think he's higher than that. I think that's limited. And even though we know that our brain is unlimited in a sense that if we can develop it in a way, nobody can do that. There's no way that you can, develop your brain, but there's ways that you can use it to create stuff. You create it in it, and then you manifest it. But we are limited by the physical realm because the physical has just a certain time to live and to stay in this material matter. It's unlimited. It's just space. Oh, I have only 70 to 80 to 90. Maybe the strongest, the Bible says, is 80. 70, the strongest 80. And today we have people that reach 100, 110, and this is very rare. But not only rare, as soon as you are reached the 90, things are not going down. It's just stale. They just flatline. Just the only thing that for the most part you can do is talk, if you're clear on your mind and things like that. So we are very limited in our brain. We are very limited in what we can create. We have only that space. So I cannot say that God has a mind or a brain because it's very limited. But I do know that His Spirit, I do know that He lives in a space or time, in a place with no space and no time, and that can give us a greater and amazing, greater revelations about how things can be done and can be portrayed for the future, for our kids and for our families, because we are limited. So we have to expand this thought and bring it into our kids, our youngs, and then they will start to create things that are going to surpass our time space, and they're going to go beyond, not because we live in an eternal body to go beyond, but because the thought, what it's here, which is order, which is portrayed in the scripture as order, can be passed on to the next generation. And then that way we can make a better generation, a better people for the next. Then we can say, I came to life, I came to the earth, I came to the physical realm, I found it some way, I found chaos and void and deep and death, and I learned how to create life. So I pass it on to my children's. My children's we know, and they pass it on to their children's. Now those all those things that are going to come after, we see the revelation of Genesis, the revelation of the creation. Once we understand these things, the rest of the Bible story is going to help us. It's going to be more clear, because now we have the idea, the higher thought of God, the higher expression of God, which is, let there be light, let there be life. So now we know the perfect will of God. The perfect will of God is life. And listen carefully. I'm not talking about life as a human living creature. I'm talking about life preserved, life manifested from generation to generation. Now that life requires certain levels of understanding and certain levels of behavior, so we can preserve it and pass it on to our family. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the next weeks coming for the book of Genesis, which is the book of Genesis is contains part of those problems that we have, that in the physical realm we manifested as chaos, and how God gave us a solution so we can bring back light, bring back life. So thank you for being with me and with us here in Casa de Israel Yara. I hope that I can see you next week. Also, you can connect with us in this channel in English. Finally, Casa de Israel Yara and Pastor Gabriel trying to bring the message of the scripture as it was given to us through the prophets through the Torah, through Yeshua, our Messiah. Remember, if you wanted to join us in our conversation, you can come to Casa de Israel Yara. We gather every Saturday at 11 with the guys. Men gather at 11 in our congregation. We discuss the scriptures from 11 to 1. And then in the afternoon, we have service in Spanish at 3:30. So you're more than welcome to come here. Let's have a discussion and let's have a time for learning and worship our God, because that's what we wanted to do. We want to worship the Creator. So thank you for being with us. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like on this video. Also, hit the notification bell so you can receive the notifications every time that we publish a new teachings. I'm going to try to do this every week so we can continue studying the scripture on and from a different perspective. Test everything, see what I'm teaching can hold water, and if that's the case, let's put it into practice. Okay, thank you very much. God bless you. Shalom.